You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the BHOL Alum Logan Podcast. This is episode number 351. Are you serious? Of East Centralia's favorite podcast, Jeremiah Morrell, executive video producer, audio engineer, Zach Burcham, and our co-host today, a voice from the past that you guys know from the BHOL Sports Desk, Mr. Chase Peyton. You're co-hosting today, man. What do we have planned? What are we doing?
Is this my part?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
It happens quick.
Well, we got the Patreon portion.
Yep, we did that.
We got the introduction. That's where we're currently at.
Yep, you've arrived.
We've got
it's like getting off
Joey Chestnut.
He's not here. He also won't be in New York.
Why don't you take this away, Jer?
Let's see. We're going to talk about Joey Chestnut and his ban from competitive eating. We're going to talk about some late-breaking news in the lieutenant governor's race that's happening this weekend. The Republicans are going to pick their big candidate. A Boss Hog alum had a major scare over at Road America last weekend, but he's okay. And we, the racing nerds in the room, want to talk about the big new racing deal for IndyCar. So that's the plan. The show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we're provoking, other times we'll make you laugh, but hopefully you'll always learn something new. We just wrapped up 20 minutes on Patreon where Chase got some pointers about what to do at a concert. And we discovered that once again, there is a skunk problem out at Deer Creek. Does that sound right, everybody?
Sounds like a problem.
Yep. It's tragic.
I think it sounds pretty cool.
If you want to know what the hell we're talking about, join Patreon at any level, patreon.com/BossHogOfLiberty to contribute, help pay the bills. It's going to be 96 degrees here tomorrow. So the air conditioning is very helpful to the equipment and to the talent. If there was talent here, it would be very helpful to the talent. Thanks. That's you, Chase. You're the talent.
He's out of the office today, Jer.
Let's see. Got to say thanks to our special donors that help us out each and every month at a major level, $50 or more a month. John Phillips, Andy Moore Buick GMC. He hooks us up with all our new GMC vehicles. This week, I've got my loaner vehicle from Andy Moore Buick GMC. Got a 2023 GMC Sierra. What will I have next week? We don't know. Find out. Anthony Meyer, a different breed, trucking logistics, keeping those packages moving. And you see the sweet shirt I got on? My PFG with the logo. That's from my Sports Corner and Varsity Outfitters, Blake Reese. You need some custom Bears hats, custom knockoff stuff.
Oh, yeah, I'll take it. All my NFL jerseys are from China.
Well, I mean, everything you have.
Well,
from China, it's just a matter of how you got it. So we've got to thank those guys so very much. All right. So this story shouldn't be a big deal. Competitive eating, but it's the summertime and there's not a lot of sports going on. Maybe it's a slow news week. But then you go, you know what? This is actually a really Newcastle-connected story because almost all of the players in this story have come through this town, right through downtown Newcastle. Like we are one of the I would consider we're one of the majors in competitive eating. One of the major holidays, right? 4th of July, the hot dog contest.
It's a staple.
And then here in Newcastle, we've got the Jack's Donuts contest, which is a major league eating deal. Like 2,000 people show up at 1400 Plaza. I wonder what the hell Zach's doing over there. He's just typing or working.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't feel like he's present. I feel like he's running an empire.
I'm paying attention.
He's over there running an empire.
That's why he makes the big bucks.
So the big news that came out this week, and my instant reaction was, well, screw that guy. Joey Chestnut got banned from the Nathan's hot dog eating contest at the 4th of July. He's like the, I don't know how many, 16-time exhibitor or entrant and like 11-time champion.
Yeah,
some crazy high.
He's
number.
won like 16 times and he hasn't lost, I think, since like 2016 or 2017.
That was your opinion? Screw that guy?
It was because here's why.
Okay.
He didn't come to Newcastle this year. We've had 3 of the Jack's Donuts.
He missed the
eating
first one
contest.
because he caught COVID.
He got sick and missed the first one.
Yeah.
He came the second year and he promoted it. And I don't know the history. I don't know why, but he was not here for the third one. I don't know if he signed a deal with Duncan or what the hell happened, but he wasn't here.
Well, didn't he lose?
He did lose. He didn't win. Finished second to Jeff. Is it Jeff Espers or somebody who won the second year?
Yeah.
He was
somewhere
at his
else.
name and pulling these guys off the list. So he finished second last year. He didn't win. And then he was so afraid he didn't come back to Newcastle or he didn't want to get paid the fee, whatever. So he signed a deal with Impossible Foods, the Beyond whatever, the fake meat people. So he signed a deal with them. And this is remind me of back in the day in motorsports where like you know NASCAR was sponsored by Nextel, and then Alltel and Sprint when or Alltel and somebody else. If you had any sort of a merger, Singular became AT&T. If you made any changes to your deal, you got thrown out. It's the same deal. Apparently, you got to have one meat.
Yeah.
Some people would say though that he is the Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
So
some people might say he's one of the greatest Americans of all time, Jerry.
I remember Kobayashi. Do you remember the guy Kobayashi?
Yes.
Kobayashi. All right.
I was like 7.
Okay. I hate him so much.
Thanks, Chase.
I was like 20.
And he was like this blip.
Right.
He was very quick, a very short time frame, but he was, came in like a firestorm.
So this Kobayashi dude was unbeatable. And then he said, "Oh, I'm not coming back anymore." He disappeared. And then it's like every year we have, gotta mute my own. We had some technical difficulties earlier. So as I'm trying to pull this back up,
Didn't he kind of lose his mind?
So
Kobayashi kind of go off the rails.
He has stopped participating in this.
Yeah.
And then I literally like 3 weeks ago, he announces that he's retiring from competitive eating.
To be honest,
that he doesn't enjoy food anymore, and he has no sense of it.
It's been a few years since I've watched.
Right.
I thought he retired like 10 years ago.
Well,
I did too.
He's not
I
done
thought-
this event, but then so if you look at the show notes, it's like in USA Today, they've got the story about how he quit competitive eating just now.
I might be mixing up with somebody, but I thought he like even jumped off the stage and like ran off during a competition.
Yeah.
Or tried to run on because he didn't show up or something. I thought he kind of had a meltdown.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and just stopped doing anything and just like disappeared into obscurity.
So he declared, this is a May 23rd article, that he has retired due to health issues and his body feels broken. He no longer feels joy from food and he's just done.
I can imagine.
Right? He can't do it. I no longer feel hungry. I'm jealous of people that like to eat, and I hope to have a happy life. And he says he's eaten over 10,000 hot dogs professionally, which is a lot of
That seems light.
a lot of sausages.
Seems like light work though.
So all of that happens, and then the news comes out that now that the Nathan's hot dog people are saying no, you can't have Joey Chestnut in. And the only other person that is like a headliner is Takeru Kobayashi. We're having this split, right? Which, if anybody has learned from motorsports, splitting a series is not necessarily good. If you pay attention to golf, splitting a series not necessarily good. So Kobayashi and Joey Chestnut are going to have a Labor Day event where they're gonna appear together, and it's gonna be like a pay-per-view. Would you pay for this Labor Day week? Do you have any other big plans Labor Day weekend? You want to see Joey eat hot dogs?
Well, it's actually going on my birthday, and I will definitely watch it. I like people who try to stick it to the man.
Okay.
Especially people named Nathan. I've got a buddy named Nathan. He's got colitis.
Okay, so
Shout out to Nathan.
So I looked it up. In 2010, Kobayashi would not sign an exclusive contract with Nathan's and was not allowed to compete.
So the same thing happened.
He didn't have a contract with another company. He was refused to sign a contract with them. So they wouldn't have let him do it. He showed up, though, and was in the crowd with a shirt that said "Free Kobe." They started cheering for him. So after the competition was over, he jumped on the stage, and they ended up being a struggle. He was thrown against a fence and arrested and cuffed after like being thrown over a barricade. Like, so it sounded like there was a real struggle. So that's what I remember is that he had.
Can you name another competitive eater?
No. So Jeff Espers, but I think it's just because he won here. But we've covered this a fair amount on this show. Christy Avery wants to know who the guy with the bear shirt is.
Oh, geez. I've got to work for you later, Christy, after all the kids go to sleep.
But it looks like he hasn't really done. So he has done the Nathan's hot dog eating contest since, but it looks like the last time he did it was 2014. He ate 113.
So he's like the Ryan Hunter Ray of hot dogs. He's still doing it. He's a name, but he hasn't been relevant in a decade. So there are betting odds now on who is the favorite to win. And this is where it all comes back to Newcastle. The favorite to win, the betting favorite on who should win the Nathan's hot dog eating contest is our guy that won here in Newcastle. It's James Webb, not the senator. Jim Webb. I believe he's a very international fellow. I think he's from is he from Australia? Does that sound right to everybody? He was third place last year with 47 hot dogs. Joey Chestnut did 62. Yep. And look at this. Jeff Esperd is he had the second best odds in 2023 of plus 110. I had the note as to how many that Mr. Webb had done it for the donut holes. James Webb, Jack's Donuts.
How many hot dogs do you think you could eat in one sitting? Not timed.
James Webb did 350 in 8 minutes.
Holy moly.
Can you imagine how that...
350 Jack's Donuts.
And I love some donuts. I love Jack's.
The second
donuts.
place dude did 317. If I came in on if you give them to me right now, I get up with one. Are we talking about like the giant ones from the Roadhouse next door or from the Tap House, or are we talking about just like standard ballparks?
Just ballparks.
With the bun, as the rules state. I could probably do 8.
8?
I think I could get down 8.
I think you'd probably do about that if I pace myself.
Yeah.
It's like I've eaten like 3 before, just like as a meal,
slamming them.
Yeah, just as like it's gonna fix myself some hot dogs.
If I had to guess, I could do 8. 12 would be very uncomfortable. 64 is insane.
I bet as you round 8, it starts to hit.
Yeah,
and in that 9th one is like exponentially, it gets worse and worse.
What have you prepared for it though? You haven't eaten all day.
I'm not doing like the dipping in water BS. I'm not doing that.
No.
I
fresh off the grill.
If I had them prepared correctly, I could do 8. My stretch goal would be 12. 12 would be a hell of a number. What do you think, Chase?
I think I could do 20.
Wow.
No
He
bun.
said that was
no bun.
You should have seen the assurance in his eyes.
Yeah.
That's a confident man.
All right. Well, we're gonna bring in the electric griddle.
I've already puked in this building one time.
I mean, if folks, one of the greatest moments in the history of the show is Chase with the milk, drinking a gallon of milk on the air after. I don't know if it was just because you could, or if that was as a part of the Ghost Peppers.
I forget who it was. Someone in the Patreon said I couldn't do it, so I was like, I can definitely do it. I remember picking up the milk before the podcast, and I was like, should I go like 2%? I was like, I always drink whole milk.
God.
So I chose whole milk, which was the wrong decision.
You should have gone 2, then it's lighter.
I know.
Should have gone skim. It still counts.
I wondered that about the milk thing too, because the gallon's supposed to be the hard thing. And how much time are you supposed to have? Like an hour? They say like you're not able to drink it. But I used to drink half a gallon of chocolate milk on my break at Kroger.
Yeah. Well, see,
just no problem.
The thing I can remember about that is it definitely took over an hour. I got it done right before the show ended. But like the first half gallon went down smooth,
easy peasy. Yeah.
And then as soon as you got past like maybe the next glass after the half gallon, that's when you start to feel it.
I mean, at that point, you're rounding 4 pounds of liquid in your stomach and going, going on up to 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Milk, that's just a lot of liquid in a hurry. Because I think you can kill yourself by drinking too much water. Even.
Yes.
Like in a certain amount of time, you can literally just die from drinking too much water.
I can consume quite a bit of water at a time, or drink. I can drink quite a bit of a liquid at a time, just from like running or whatever. I get dehydrated, and I can right before I go to bed, and it's not much, but I can drink like a bottle of water. It's like whatever, 16 ounces. I can drink 60 ounces, just like 15 seconds to be done.
So, Zach, you remember, Google is protecting me from whatever the hell I'm trying to do. You remember during the election season that when folks went and voted in the primary, they had to go choose all of these delegate candidates, right? For the state convention. Henry County, Indiana election results. Our county changed websites, so I was trying to pull it up here on the fly, and we changed websites, and now I can't figure out where
henryco.net or something.
I don't know. We're gonna try something else here. Efforting. So the I don't know if we're gonna get this.
Why is it all red?
Because I'm looking at the Republican primary. I'm trying to see the local results. Convention delegate. There we go. All right. Click. Come on, thing.
Dude, that was a thing I never remembered voting for in my time as a voter.
Yeah, it kind of depends upon which county which area you're in, and how contested it is, and how many people are running. Yada yada yada. So, and I don't know. Yeah, 5 elected. All right. So we'll play around with this thing here and look at Henry County in the Middle District. Our county is sending Lisa Lovelace, Clay Morgan, Chad Malacote, Todd Hyde, and Chris Hansen to be delegates to the state convention. Looks like Micah Mattingly and Cameron Grimm just missed out on being selected. And then looks like Corey Criswell, Jay Davis, Nate Lamar, Betsy Mills, and Sabrina Criswell are going to be going as delegates as well from the north. So Henry County might have like 15 people that get to go to the state convention to choose for the Republican Party who their candidate for lieutenant governor is going to be this weekend. And they're also going to choose, I believe, the candidate for attorney general and maybe another race or two. They pick like treasurer, because these don't appear on your ballot. They're picked at the convention. So the Republicans pay to rent the convention space, and they do. This is very similar to what the Libertarians do to choose all of their candidates. So this is why there's always this contention in the from Libertarians that say, hey, we're paying using public money to pay for all these primaries. Choose your people. You use the primary to select these delegates. So 10 or 15 people from Henry County get to go, and they're going to make the decisions for the rest of the state Republican Party. There's like 1,800 delegates that are going to be there, all in. Nate Lamar is mentioned in the big IndyStar article that's linked in Patreon. If you're a patron, you get the show notes dropped right into you. Basically, there's a big contested race for lieutenant governor. Rob Kendall, friend of the show, has a friend, very very uber conservative guy that's been running for state number 2, Micah Beckwith. You remember this story about the library board?
Yes.
Where he was one of the board members that was caught in the controversial decisions over there. So right around the time that happened, he launched his campaign to run for lieutenant governor. He didn't have a candidate he was associated with. He just said, I'm going to run for lieutenant governor. And then he recruited a bunch of candidates to try to run for him and be locked in, so that theoretically he'll have 400 or 600 or 800 people on his side going into the state convention. 1,800 people won election. So if you come in with a block of 700 or 800 people, in theory, you can kind of push your way through. So once Mike Braun won the primary, he said, I want State Representative Julie McGuire to be a person. So she's a lot more of the establishment candidate. So now you have a race between Julie McGuire, who's been running for a month, and then Micah Beckwith. So it's almost like running a small town election here, where you're running for city council or county council. You know exactly who the delegates are. right? So they are direct. You thought you got a lot of direct mail before? Now these guys are by name. They know they're going to be there.
Yeah.
They know they're going to show up. So they're getting phone calls,
I was
text
gonna say,
messages,
they're probably getting
boom, 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 boom.
because they've given all their information to the party to run too. So it's not like they could like, well,
You can't hide.
there's nowhere to hide. You are, yeah.
So our very good friend of the show, Nate Lamar, is in this IndyStar article, and I want to find his quote and make sure.
Can you imagine
correctly.
running for like a pseudo office? It's not an office, but you're running for something, and what you win is to get to be harassed for like the next month and a half or 2 months by people trying to get. I don't even remember this being a thing. Maybe it's just not.
Back there was a time where my mother was a state delegate in the when Ron Paul was. This is like 2008. And she was recruited to be somebody that would be very much a Ron Paul voter. And then Ron Paul wasn't there at the convention, didn't make it that far. But all of these candidates, once you're a delegate, you're one of the delegates. So then, yeah, my mom got to experience the same thing of all these people hitting her up.
Do they at least get some nice dinners out of it?
I think you have to pay. I think you have to pay like $200 to go too. You have a fee. It's a burden.
It's like the worst election to run for ever.
So Nate Lamar is quoted in the Indy Star saying, "It's gotten to the point where I just stopped answering phone calls." He's an undecided delegate from Henry County who says he'll make his decision later before he walks into the convention on Saturday. That sounds a lot to me like Nate's made up his mind, but he doesn't want to say who he's going to vote for because he doesn't have to deal with them. I got a feeling Nate knows who you vote for them. Maybe not. Maybe 2 or 3 more text messages will push him over the edge.
Like the rest of us, we get to election day, and we talked about on the election show, like, yes, the commercials are going to stop for a bit, or at least slow down. All the mailers are going to stop, and then to find out that you just signed up to get
congratulations,
the most target, and you signed up for it. This is what you signed up for, is to be harassed by these people to get your vote.
Yep. So a lot of, we just read the list of. At least half of the people that are getting those phone calls are friends of the show here. The Libertarians already selected Tanya Hudson at the state convention, so Don Rainwater and Tanya Hudson will be the Libertarians. The Democrats, they're having a struggle. They only have one person that's put their name forward yet, and he is a not what you'd consider a serious candidate. Bob Kern. Who I'm pretty sure
also sounds familiar.
I think he also went by the name Bob Hidalgo, and he used to run for Congress against.
Anytime you're running, you got multiple names, have multiple ethnic backgrounds. You're like, this guy is.
I don't want to be too much like Dakota and slandering people, but I'm feeling 98% sure about what I'm going to say. Pretty sure he was the fellow that ran against Dan Burton for Congress many times, and I'm quite certain he had some legal issues back in the day. So he's not the top of the ticket person that Jennifer McCormick wants. They have rescheduled the convention. They actually pushed it back into July for the Democrats yet because they haven't found somebody they want, which that shows you where
so on the state level, they're having the same problems they're having locally with county races.
That's not a good look if you're having to push your convention back, because 1,800 Republicans are showing up. I assume there's a similar number of Democrats, and now you just it's no small feat to get that many people together. You want to schedule that stuff well in advance because there's family vacations, there's stuff going on. So stay tuned on that. But we should have that big piece of the puzzle to see if basically the Too Long Didn't Read. If they pick McGuire, they have chosen the establishment person that Senator Braun wants. And if they chose Beckwith, then Rob Kendall won.
And nothing against it, but okay, so I'm assuming, I'm trying to remember back, so I might be wrong, but this guy was pro clearing some books off the shelves.
He used to clear some books off the shelves. He was very much we're teaching the wrong things in schools. He's more of your social conservative candidate versus your Chamber of Commerce candidate. That's the difference.
So yeah,
mainline
is the right response.
Social conservative for you. Social conservative versus Chamber of Commerce.
I'm okay with him having those positions as a human being. I'm not okay with him editing what's in a public library so that it's only supportive of his positions. There's stuff in the library I don't agree with. That's fine.
Well, you have to pay for it as a taxpayer. Don't you want to scream and throw a fit?
I bet groups donate them if they want to. Whatever.
When's the last time you've been to the library, Jer?
the last time I was in the library, probably 6 weeks ago, dropping off a book for my wife. She is a regular patron. She goes all the time.
I was there about 2 weeks ago.
I don't go very often myself, because our local library is getting remodeled. The book drop has been getting moved around like 2 or 3 times, and it was very difficult to figure out where the hell to return a book. So I finally just went ahead and went inside with it one day because I couldn't figure out where the return was at that moment. Because it normally sits behind the library, but then that parking lot got taken over for construction equipment. So then they put it back by the sketchy bar behind the place, and then it got moved again to I don't know where. And it looks like it's just on a pallet. So somebody with a fork truck just comes by and moves the book wherever the hell they want to. You could just take it home if you wanted to, Chase. If you come home with a pallet jack, you could just roll it across downtown and own yourself a library return box.
Hey, there we go.
Paint it up, say letters to David Lee Roth or something on it, and put it in an alley. You know the letters to Dave thing, or you think I'm just crazy?
Oh, I know you're crazy.
All right. He's younger than Dakota is like the world's oldest millennial, and he's 97 on the inside. Chase truly doesn't know.
Yeah,
He just doesn't know it yet.
I mean, I have to stop it. What was the horrible thing I saw?
I'm sure he'll play Pogs with me, but otherwise, I don't know.
That we're equal distance.
I'd
So we now are as far from our birth year, me more than you because you're a little bit younger than me. So you take that time frame and go back one more time,
it'd be the
it's equal
1940s.
distance to the 1938 or something like that.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, for us, it would be 19.
So like,
if I'm 40 now, 40 years ago was 1983. It would have been 1950, 1943. It's right in the middle of World War II.
Good year.
Yeah, the best.
yeah, it's just like
Greatest generation, Jer.
Sure wouldn't have been in Indiana. Would have been in Europe. At best case scenario, you're in Europe. Could be in North Africa. Could have been out in the Pacific with my grandfather. Anyway, all of that said, we'll have some more news in the governor's race. It's shaping up. Stay tuned on that one. Boss Hog alum Logan Adams made the news. Zachary,
yeah.
did you see the story? This happened at the time. I saw it on Twitter immediately.
You sent me a link to it, and I saw another follow up later because I follow him on social media, and he shared it. He said up and away or something like that. He took flight.
But he texted back the same day, which was a good sign.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he is in, last year when he was on the show, he was in a rival to the Road to Indy series. Now he is in the USF Pro 2000 series, which is, I think, 3 or 4 levels below IndyCar at this point.
Yeah, I have a hard time keeping those.
It's hard to
straight.
know because of the acronyms, because there's NXT.
The numbers
there's
don't make any
IndyCar,
sense.
There's a 2000 and there's a Pro 2000. He's in the Pro 2000 series. So they had a doubleheader at Laguna Seca. I'm sorry, at Road America, up in Wisconsin, in the land of Spotted Cow. He finished 8th on Saturday, and then his race on Sunday morning before the IndyCar race. He had this barrel roll. If you get the show notes, you can see this thing happen. Scary crash.
Yeah, he hit a car, went airborne over that car, and then when it hit the ground again, it dug in
the sand trap, and it made at least 5 or 6 reservoirs.
What do you think goes through your head as you're going through the air?
Oh, I hope it doesn't stop hard.
Yeah.
I think if you're anywhere at all, you're just hoping it's a soft stop.
And soon. You probably want to stop, but not too quickly, not sudden, but like soon, like just luckily they have a halo.
Kenny Schrader said about a crash he had at Talladega in a stock car. He said flying through the air wasn't the bad part. It was the hitting the ground that really hurt.
Well, yeah, until to quote Jeremy Clarkson for people that watch Top Gear, he's like, speed never killed anybody. It's the sudden stop that gets you.
It's the stopping, yeah. Airplanes go 700 miles an hour. You're fine.
Yeah, you're fine. Speed doesn't. But yeah, it was a nasty looking accident. So
they're hoping to be back at Mid-Ohio. So when we all go hang out 4th of July weekend at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, maybe we can cross paths with Logan and see what he thought during the event. The big news in the sports world happened this morning. This bumped a story that we might get to later at the end. We may not. It depends on if Zach reminds us or not about Fort Wayne. There's been this teased story. The big old IndyCar world. They have had media rights with NBC, Comcast, Universal, whatever they're called, for like 16 years. Some sort of relationship with them. And I think they've been the exclusive TV home of IndyCar since for like the last 6 years, a couple of 3-year contracts.
Yeah.
Today, this big news came out that they have signed a deal with Fox Sports, and starting next year, every single IndyCar race is going to be broadcast on Fox, on like legit Fox. Which Chase, not many sports leagues have everything on one channel now.
Yeah.
Like NASCAR doesn't. NFL is on like 4 or 5 different things. If you want to try to keep track of where things are, it's almost impossible. So like the thought of having everything in one place
sounds
unreal.
great. Yeah.
Unreal.
Oh, they're already complaining though. Don't worry. Fan base is complaining.
So yes, great news is announced. Don't worry, we got 1,000 ways to bitch about it.
I'm tired of the apps and the cable. It's like, well, it's all gonna be on network. What's gonna happen to the apps and the cable?
I finally got used to this damn thing. When your fan base is at the median age of your fan base is 59, change something, they start crying.
Literally just released a picture of the schedule, and they've done this the last couple of years because in most sports groups do this, and it's like, here's the event, here's the date, and here's the television partner.
Yeah.
They don't even need to put that on there.
This one's on
it's
NBC.
Just straight Fox.
This one's
the entire
on
way
Peacock.
down.
This one's on USA. No, it's all Fox.
It should just be, here's the schedule, all events are on Fox, and then qualifications and practices will be on either Fox Sports 1 or Fox Sports 2. So
an IndyCar race on NBC on national TV has been getting about 1 million views. That's pretty regular. 900,000 to 1.2 million. About 1 million people watch every race that's on network TV. Indy 500, 3 or 4 or 5 million people. So if you drop 17 races on network TV plus 3 or 4 million, plus then you got 2 full windows of like Saturday and Sunday for the Indy 500 qualifying are going to be on Fox. You have 19 times you're on. More than 20 million people are going to watch your series, which is huge. Like 20 million eyeballs are going to see these guys next year, which is apparently double what they had this year.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. Just a little scared. I'm hopeful. They have to get good ratings, otherwise we're going to end up on like Fox Sports, the Ocho, or some weird thing. Like next, they're going to stick us in the depths of and just the most cobwebbed up part of cable.
So they have 5 Cup races on Fox this year coming up, and now 19 races or 20 races are going to be. I mean, they've gone full in. A lot of folks are worried that Fox has kind of gone to a crappy version of themselves on in the effort they put together, because they've essentially, I think they're in like their 4th or 5th contract since they got the NASCAR rights in 2001. In that first contract, it was like awesome compared to what the other people had done back in the day. They had developed like this Fox track thing where you could see the car and see the speed and the point. They would, these little laser pointers on the cars, they're going down.
Yeah.
Which for TV 24 years ago, absolutely groundbreaking.
I don't watch much racing now, but yeah, apparently there were memes coming out that showed like an angry person screaming no to IndyCar fans, like, don't go to Fox.
I mean, when they get their hands on a new property, they really seem to lean into it and do well.
Yeah.
When Fox started as a network in the late 80s, right? In 1994, they got the NFC, so they got the rights to cover the Bears, the Lions, the Packers, and whatever other teams existed.
Kitty Cats, the Detroit Kitty Cats,
Detroit Meows.
Yeah.
And they invented the yellow first down marker. Chase, what year were you born?
95.
So Fox has always had the NFL. Could you imagine a world where you had to look at the TV and figure out where the hell the first down was without a yellow line?
No, I would have no idea what's going on. Just like I do when we're watching it in person. I have no idea what's going on half the time.
You have no clue where the thing's at, right?
Nope.
So they developed that. Those guys, they figured that out. They had this technology with the puck that, like in hockey, where you can see it blurring across the screen, because hockey is an incredible sport to watch in person, but on TV it's kind of tough.
Yep.
So they're like an innovative group.
One thing that'll help. Well, I'm hoping. So my first thoughts were, I like Lee Diffie. People don't like Lee Diffie. Some people don't. I think that they
just don't like.
They just don't like
foreigners.
us. They don't like foreigners. Yeah, like because Brits, for being kind of a buttoned up culture, their commentator is usually pretty fun and exciting.
Well, first of all, he's Australian.
Well, he's from the Commonwealth, whatever. He's the queen. The queen's on his money.
Not anymore.
Enough.
First of all, he's an American. Second of all, the king would be. You're showing your age, sir.
The last time he was probably in Australia as a citizen, it was a queen. Then, so they're going to lose him probably because NBC uses him a lot. And he does Olympics, he does bobsledding,
field,
like any kind of
stuff.
speed thing, he does it. So he's probably gone kind of like Bob Varsha never got away from when Formula One moved around. I'm hoping that they nail down
James
Hinchcliffe, and then very partial. I want him to get Kevin Lee too, because Kevin Lee is former WMDH DJ, is an absolute treasure for IndyCar fans. He has a once a week radio show where he just bounces around ideas like a real fan, and he just like as everybody else. He is I want him more than I want Townsend Bell or anybody else. I don't need Marty Snyder and his awkward, uncomfortable questions.
You're upsetting Andrew Bowman right now.
But like
Bowman and Spangle love Marty Snyder. I think he's a NASCAR guy, and then I realized Marty Snyder's been here for like 15 years.
I just think that
I think he stays on NASCAR.
He asks questions sometimes. I'm like, that doesn't serve anybody to have asked that question. Like, he would ask just like, oh, so how's it feel to win a race on the anniversary of your great grandmother's death from cancer or something like that? It's just like these strange questions. And it's like,
hadn't thought about it, but I guess good and bad.
He's trying to like pull emotion out of him. I'm like, I didn't really need that. Like, so whatever.
Not everybody can be Tom Rinaldi.
I wanted to get Kevin Lee back. I wanted to bring Kevin Lee over. Because I don't think he does a lot of other NBC. He does a few NBC.
He does IMSA stuff, but I think he's even appeared on Fox Sports before doing ARCA races.
He works around. Yeah, he does like Westwood One stuff, and then definitely they need Hinch. And then if they can get Townsend, great. If not, great. He's not bad.
I've been on the Twitter trying to push our boy Jake Rose, who's going to be. So Jake Rose is a friend I met through Joey Molinaro. He's like an ESPN the Ocho guy, does like every MTSU football basketball game in Tennessee, but he's also been like the Dave Calabro for the Music City Grand Prix.
That's not positive.
Down in in Nashville.
Not a compliment at all.
Good. And he's going to be on, I believe, I don't know if it's officially announced, but we'll say it here because I've heard sources say that he's going to be on the IndyCar radio broadcast for Nashville as well. So yeah. I think he'd make a fine pit reporter.
I even like Dylan Welch. I think
Dylan's great. Yeah,
Dylan's great.
Georgia Henneberry would be good.
So I hope they bring some of those people over. One thing I think that will help them is that, and some people don't realize this, IndyCar has its own TV people. Like, so obviously NBC is doing things, but they have IMS Productions. And so I think those people will all stick around, like the IMS Productions people. I'm hoping that they kind of get contracted in with stuff, and they'll be able to maintain some level of integrity with that being getting weird. But let's hope.
Fox needed this deal. NBC had a lot of stuff going on in the summer. They have
Olympics,
golf,
and
they have horse racing. They have the Olympics. As long as you can say, I'm fine. If you're an NFL fan and you're a racing fan, perfect. Because when Fox gets to week 1 of the NFL, they ain't doing anything else.
Nope.
That is king. And that's going to be the king of sports for the rest of our lives. Until about 1990, baseball was the king. Baseball had a strike in like 94, 95, and it flipped. And the NBA kind of had an era until about 98, 99.
Yep.
And then the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady era, the NFL, when we got HD TV, high definition. Chase, back in the day, it was difficult to see a football game on TV. It was on a 4x3 screen.
I'm not that young. I remember.
Did you have a tube TV when you were a kid?
Yeah, I used to play the Super Nintendo on it. The one where you can feel the fuzzies on your face if you get real close to it.
I was actually going to ask, did you ever feel the static on the screen? Yeah. But I was like, that'd be stupid. And he said, no, he's doing it too. Like,
yep.
We all did.
The high definition TV, I think, that at that moment that put the NFL to King Kong status, and nothing else can compare. I think everybody in sports realizes that's the deal. So then, if you partner with the team with one of the biggest entities, and NBC is they're no slouch either, but if you're on Fox, it's spectacular. And the one downfall is that you have to get off the air by Labor Day weekend. You can go until about President's Day, right? At the NFL, Super Bowl, whatever. You got to be done You got to be done before the NFL season starts, and you can start up after the Super Bowl. So Fox has NASCAR Cup racing, and then you can go. I mean, they could start as early as late February and they could go to Brazil, they could go to Mexico, they could go to Arizona or Texas. They could add additional events.
I'm gonna sound real stupid right now, but like, what day do the races usually happen on?
Sundays.
Sunday. Okay.
Yeah. You could do a Saturday night, but generally it's a Saturday night or a
college
Sunday.
Football too.
Yeah. So you don't want to mess around in the fall.
You've
got a hard out.
And the season finale it's Labor Day weekend, isn't it?
It will be, yeah. Right now this year. So the concession is that they had to move the schedule up a week, essentially.
Okay.
It's a little bit more balanced.
It ends.
So they went to about September 10th this year.
Yeah.
Now the new calendar, it's going to drop off on August 31st.
Okay. So right before football season.
Exactly. And the last thing you want to do, you could say, oh God, we got to compete. We got to go further in. I'm sure that if they bitched about it and they said, we have to go further into the season, you're no longer going to have 17 races on Fox. You'd be on Fox Sports 1 crowning your champion, and you can't have 17 races leading up to your championship ceremony. And then you're like, okay, go check that on Fox Sports 2.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Like you have to, this is such a good deal in every other way that you have to sacrifice that.
Yeah. Last race next year will be Nashville Superspeedway, August 31st, which I believe is probably the Sunday of Labor Day, because Labor Day will be the first then.
Yeah. So the other side is that there is one more piece, I guess we skipped over. There was like an all-star race or a pro invitational, whatever the hell you want to call it. The $1 million race, which is actually a $500,000 race at Thermal Sports course in Palm Springs, California. I'm butchering that, but basically rich guys golf course racetrack.
Donald Trump.
Yeah. Big West Coast, Southern California, Palm Spring in the desert.
These people actually have money, Chase.
3 hours outside of Los Angeles. They had a race where they had a limited number of fans. It's really like having something on a golf course. There's no seating or infrastructure for a big fan event. So they had an all-inclusive package for a few thousand people to come, and they bid like $500. It turned out to be like $500 a piece for the weekend, and everything was covered. That's going to be an actual IndyCar race.
Wasn't it supposed to be like $2,000 though?
It was originally like $2,000 or $2,500. Yeah,
or some crazy.
It was not rolled out great.
500 sounds like a pretty good deal.
Yes, for like 3 months it was like $2,500, and like 100 people bought tickets.
Yeah,
and then in the last week or two they were like $500. It would change. Our decisions were already made at that point. $500 for an all-inclusive where there's no security, there's no nothing, and all your food and drinks are covered. Yeah, that's a chunk of money for a couple, but it's at least something to consider. So whatever that ends up being this next year for the ticketing and the amount of fans they let in, it remains to be seen. But it's going to be an actual points-paying race. And there are some that are saying, well, this is not fair. You can't have a race where you can't have that many people come in. And I think, okay, it's just like a flyaway race to Brazil, Zach, or Mexico City. Yeah. If they did that in February, I'd be happy they had a race. I'm not going to go to Brazil to watch a race or Australia or whatever. So it's better than nothing. It's better than a weekend of nothingness. So I'm not going to complain or cry about that. But people found a way to bitch about it on the internet, because that's what happens. All right. The other frustrating part for a lot of the fan base is that they have grown accustomed to paying $7 a month for Peacock, right? And do you have a Peacock subscription now? I assume for your Notre Dame football.
I do. I purchased it to watch one Bears game, actually.
So the Big Ten has a relationship with Peacock.
Yeah.
All the IndyCar stuff has been there previously. IMSA, there's the Office, there's a bunch of programming that's there.
I do understand it though, because I remember the Bears were on one Sunday on Peacock, and I was like, "You've got to be kidding me! I'm never going to use this again." And I purchased it. It's how much is it? Like $7, $7. And I used it the one time, and I haven't used it since. And I'm still a subscriber.
You still pay for it. So it truly had been. If your sport is on it, it's the greatest value in sports.
Yep.
It's fine. It had every.
If you're on during the month of May, they cover all the practices, so it's 6-hour broadcast every day.
And it was all commercial free.
Yeah, and it's just them. You like if you're nerd like we tend to be, they just get into all the weeds on every little thing. Like, oh yeah, so and so's wife like got her nails done today, or whatever. Because they literally they're trying to find something to talk about,
Yeah.
especially if
Let's
like,
look for expired food in your bus, Joseph. Yeah. So $7 a month for Peacock was a great deal. They are do you know what Venue Sports is? Is this on your radar at all yet?
I've never heard of it.
So Venue Sports is going to be a streaming service that's going to be like the all-star lineup of a bunch of these major sports offerings. So picture getting all of the Disney stuff, all of the Fox stuff, and all of the Warner Brothers stuff together in one package. So everything on ESPN, everything on Fox, and then whatever the hell Warner Brothers has. I don't know. It's going to be called Venue Sports. Discovery, Fox Corp, Warner Brothers. But it's not going to be $7.
Yeah, what's the price tag on that bad boy?
They haven't announced it yet. So it would be ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, SEC Network, ACC, ESPN News, Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports 2, Big Ten Network, TNT, TBS, and True TV. So all your basketball for March Madness, all of that stuff. What do you think's fair for that? If you were to buy that package, what do you think is a fair price?
I think you have to look at what YouTube TV. That's 75,
65, 70, yeah.
So 30.
So it's been estimated that it's going to be in the high 40s, low $50 range.
Yeah, I don't see how that's worth it. I'd rather pay.
You'd rather pay the 65 and have YouTube TV and to get all of those plus the stuff your wife wants.
Yes,
right. So when this news got announced for me, I'm like, well, this is fine. I get Fox Sports 1, I get Fox Sports 2, I get Fox. I'm covered. I don't have to pay for Peacock anymore. I'm probably going to have some commercials in my stuff now because I don't think Fox Sports 2 is going to be commercial free for my qualifying and practice. That's annoying, but it is what it is. But I already have everything covered and I'm good.
If the broadcast is built for it, though, for commercials, then I bet it's not horrible.
Yeah. It's
bad when, like, for people ever watch Formula One for a while took the world feed, and
they would just cut in with
commercial free. And so those guys would just be talking, and they'd be like mid sentence, and boom, drop a commercial in there. And and because it was the world feed, they didn't go back and explain what you missed because they were just talking. So that's if it's built for commercials, at least so they're not letting you miss. In qualifications, there's built-in commercial downtime for those practices, kind of too. Maybe you never know. Qualifications are perfect.
If I was single and a Colts fan, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Why as a Colts fan? Because you need YouTube TV for your
my
red zone.
NFL Sunday ticket.
Yeah. That's a choice you make. You could take conversion therapy and get that Bears stuff.
That's never going to happen. I like to suffer, Jerry,
if you wanted to. So I did a little bit of looking today. YouTube TV is what we have as a household. Zach, you're in the same, right?
Yep.
And I think it's still the best deal. It's month to month. You don't have to have this stuff forever. You don't make everybody's like it's like going back to cable, but it's not because you could cancel it today and then sign up again in a month when you need it again. You don't have to keep doing it. But Hulu, Sling, YouTube TV, they would all get this service for you at whatever their price points are. And Sling is interesting because you can basically choose a bucket that has ESPN or doesn't have ESPN.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's like $55 a month or something for their nicer version.
Are you guys one of those people that are like, oh, I'm paying for Netflix, I'm paying for Hulu, I might as well just be paying for actual cable at this point?
I'm getting to that point.
Yeah,
I'm not, because I don't have to pay. I'm not paying for a box.
Yeah,
I'm not paying for a per device charge, and I can cancel them at any time. So if I got rid of Netflix because we don't need it for a while.
Yeah.
So I don't have to pay $22 a month for Netflix for a minute. When a season comes out of something you want, you turn it on, you watch Apple TV for a month or two, and you say, hey, I'm going to go watch Netflix for a little while. And you just move around.
I get people's frustrations with it, but then like outside of sports, I don't use YouTube TV for anything really. And like there'll be times there'll be nothing on Netflix or whatever, HBO or whatever.
Yeah, you're totally hosed.
Yeah. So then I've
watched all of this.
I'll go on YouTube TV and I'm like, I don't want to watch any of this shit.
Yeah.
At least with the apps and stuff, you can just pick and watch one thing over and over and over and over again.
Live sports is the one place that I actually need it. Like that I go to stuff, and that's what I use the YouTube TV for. And if I can, generally I'm using Peacock first, but I have come to appreciate, and this is old school, but if there's a movie I want to watch from the 80s or the 70s or the 90s, and I can usually search for it on YouTube TV, and it plays on one of the cable channels, and I can catch it on demand. So I can say, hey, I want to watch this old, I wanted to watch The Pelican Brief, right? Which is a movie that's from 1990.
Never even heard of it.
It's a, one of those
John
old
Grisham.
John Grisham novel books that or The Client or The Firm, whatever, Runaway Jury, any of those kinds of movies. They're all out there. So these old dramas that they don't make anymore, you can grab them and you can watch them, and it's included in your subscription. You already paid for it.
Yeah.
So that's where that niche works for me.
You don't have to go to Amazon Prime, pay
Exactly.
the $3.99.
I don't have to rent it and be committed. It's just there and ready for me when I want it. And I love that the DVR travel with the camper, that second home lifestyle, Chase.
Yeah.
The internet travels with me.
Perfect.
I got it. I got what I need when I need it.
Do you guys ever use Redbox anymore?
Yeah, I actually do. I'll tell you, not as much as I used to, but what I would use it for was when we were traveling.
Yeah.
I have
DVDs in the
I
car.
have old vehicles with DVD players in the car, and you stop grab one on your way out of town, and then you hit a CVS or McDonald's for lunch, and you drop it off and swap a new one out. So we don't do it now because the Excursions stereo's touching.
Spam caller calling me. We're going to screen it. We're going to use the Google software and tell it to screen it.
I used to love Redbox. I don't know how they're still open at this point, just because there's so many other options.
Yeah. They're conveniently located.
But back in 2010, 2012, senior year of high school, there was nothing better than just going and rent a $1 movie and watch it with your girlfriend.
Oh yeah, because if you did it with any kind of regularity, you got an email that gave you
You
a
get promo
discount.
codes.
Yeah, you get promo codes.
And you could you could even go to the book machine and buy a movie for like $7 when it was going away. $6 or $7. You need to have the disc.
Yeah, the DVD player and the Excursion's touchy, so we haven't tried that yet. But the Tahoe, we would all the time. We keep a stockpile of DVDs in the Tahoe.
Except for one movie that
Do you have certain movies that you're waiting on the boys to be old enough to watch it.
No. I'll be honest. I don't watch that much TV or movies. I did.
Says the guy who watched the entire Star Wars catalog in 12 weeks.
Yeah, I did that, and I watched all the Harry Potter movies in a week.
I made my wife watch Lord of the Rings with me this past weekend.
In the theater?
And
Do you know they're doing they're doing a re-release, and they're running their last week. I think it's first movie is on Friday, second movie Saturday, third movie Sunday for the next 3 weeks in the theaters. And I was, if I hadn't had plans already, I'd be tempted, because we, my nerdy friends, we had a tradition for however many years it was that we went and saw one of those movies every December when they opened, and then we go out to eat afterwards.
I was gonna say, because I was watching it this weekend, and I was like, man, they re-release these in the movie theaters every few years. It seems like, and maybe not.
They're
But
out right now. Yeah. They're doing it because somebody sent me, and I was like, I've got plans.
Yeah,
and then because I've always talked about, my kids probably wouldn't like it, but man, I'd sit there and watch. I've got all the extended editions on Blu-ray. I'll sit there. I'll one of these days, I'm just gonna get try to find an antidepressant, because you probably need it, because those movies are dark. And rip through that in The Hobbit, because that was probably Peter Jackson's. This is a rabbit hole. That's probably Peter Jackson's. That's the kind of movie he needs to do.
Yes,
because he can just go nuts and release 4 hour. I heard he did King Kong, and it wasn't that great because he did an hour and a half of character development. Well, that's the kind of thing. Lord of the. As a matter of fact, I even kind of mentioned, if weren't people so attached to actors and actresses, it'd be pretty interesting to see him rip into a Harry Potter series or something like that. Any kind of book series, because he can really go nuts.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But yeah, I'm going to have to see that in theaters. I was just thinking about that. I was I want to go next time.
Yeah.
But Katie, not a fan.
Yeah,
my wife has no interest in seeing
not her kind of.
Chase, Sarah won't watch the Star Wars stuff with me. You're still my Star Wars date whenever something happens.
Jared, did you hear that they're ruining Star Wars, apparently?
They
with this new Acolyte show.
I haven't got to watch it yet.
Heard it's
if it's not one of the movies,
I haven't seen it, but I hear it's not very good.
That's a crowd that's never. See, that's the fun thing about me, is I joke.
Is Jon Favreau involved?
So
if John's
spoiler
involved,
alert, I heard in the third episode that just came out, because there's a bunch of people complaining about it on Twitter, that there are X. That third episode has 2 lesbian witches that used the Force to have a baby. So there are
Well, it is June.
a lot of nerds that are not happy right now.
Well, yeah, if they can do that, there's no hope they're
Yeah,
ever going to get laid.
That's what I'm saying. And they want to get rid of the light and dark side.
That'll upset the Christians.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't see John Favreau mentioned immediately. And
No, he's not directing that. Like it's some
They ought to let him
lady. I don't know.
They ought to
her
let
name.
him be in charge of the Bible.
that's why one of my favorite things about my personality is that it's on my Facebook profile. I'm a fan of many things and a connoisseur of almost nothing.
Yeah.
Because I find people get too stuffy about stuff and then they're like, it kills the fun.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know,
Well,
just sit back and just enjoy it for what it is. And if you get done, you're like,
That's how I was with the Lord of the Rings. I loved them. I would watch them like every week growing up.
I can't
And
believe
then-
you got married.
Jared, I'm not a big book reader. I mean, I haven't been to the library for like 15 years.
those are probably those are good movies to watch because the movies probably cover
Yeah.
a lot of stuff. And to slog through those books, I
Yeah.
bet, is nightmarish.
So
I bet.
I was such a big fan of the Lord of the Rings growing up. There was like a 10-year period in between the Lord of the Rings coming out and the Hobbit. And I was so
It took
excited.
that long to film it.
Yeah. They kept switching directors and stuff. And like, I read the book, Jer, and it completely ruined the movie for me.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not a fan of The Hobbit. But now, like, I need to rewatch it because I really liked the first one that
You
came
read
out.
the Hobbit book, then you saw the movie and said this isn't anything like I pictured.
The first one, I really enjoyed the first one. I didn't like the next 2.
You ever watch the cartoon one?
I haven't.
Oh, that's why I grew up on that.
Yeah.
There's a cartoon-ish version of The Hobbit when I was a kid, and I grew up on that. And so, yeah,
It's good to go in with low expectations
But
whenever you're doing something.
Now I don't care as much. I've got other things going on. There's this other Lord of the Rings show called The Rings of Power. A lot of people hate it. I enjoyed it. It's because I don't care as much.
is it back on? I watched the season of that, and it was good, but it was weird.
What-
It took me a
what
bit to
channel-
get
What
oriented.
streaming service do I need to be able to watch this?
Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
See, that's
The
another one you gotta
Lord
have.
of the Rings.
Oh God, I gotta pay for Amazon Prime too. As if you don't have Amazon Prime already for fast
Well,
packages.
and then what happens, and that was one of them. I had to Google where I was.
Yes.
And that's a real big thing if you're a Star Wars fan because there's different time frames, and so there's a huge amount of time that happens like between the first 3 movies and the original 3.
Yeah.
It's like 25 or 30 years because you go from Anakin being like a young adult to like for a kid and covering this time frame. So I'll have to Google like where am I? And I believe that the Rings of Power is about the origin of the ring.
Yeah. Correct.
So it's
Yeah.
it's a prequel
It's
hundreds
way
of
earlier.
years in the future or in the past
Yeah.
from the original movies. It's good. It's weird. It's a bit weird, but it's good.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I liked seeing the world and everything. I thought it looked cool.
2 other tidbits I had on the motorsports story from back in the day. The NBC thing started way back in the day with
Versus,
Comcast had a TV channel called Versus.
which I think had been Outdoor Life Network.
Yeah. So they started.
OLN.
They signed it in 2008. Chase. They signed a 10-year contract with a C-rated cable network, and they said 10 years we're going to be with Versus. Eventually, Versus got purchased by Universal and Comcast or whatever.
We got lucky.
And they
we got
became
lucky.
NBCSN. So they won the freaking lottery like 3 or 4 years in, they became NBCSN. NBC really, you can tell this year, at the beginning of this year, when they released their calendar, I was like, yeah, they're not getting this back because they dropped 2 of the 17 races are on Peacock this year. I think 4 or 5 are on USA. And I think from like July until the very last race of the year, everything is on streaming or cable. Like there's going to be no rating in the summer months from like 4th of July until Labor Day.
I do oddly hate Peacock.
Yeah.
Peacock.
It's clunky.
Here's what I hate. I'll tell you. There's
Yeah.
one thing I hate. I hate about it.
I can predict what's going to be. It just disappears after the broadcast for like half an hour.
That's very annoying too. But I think, and this is a side thing. I think all the Harry Potter movies are on Peacock. I think, yeah. So I watched all of them on there. So when I pull up Peacock, it shows me all the Harry Potter movies. 90% of the time, though, I've watched those all once.
You don't
in a
want to
week.
go back and watch them. You're
I
not
don't wanna go
Chase
back and
wanna
watch them again.
every weekend for the
But-
your life.
I don't do that anymore. That was
So
when I was
every-
13.
So every time I go in there, it's to watch IndyCar. Does it show me IndyCar when I pull up the app?
No.
Hell no. It
Scroll
shows
down to sports.
I have to scroll into sports,
and then I got to go find
kick over to
IndyCar,
IndyCar,
and I got to find
I'm
this
like-
weekend. And then if you added something to your library, it's like, do you want to watch practice from Texas 2 years ago?
Yeah.
No.
Meanwhile, some random topic can come up in a wall chat, and it takes over my Instagram search.
Yeah.
But Peacock can't figure out that I've added it to my stuff. IndyCar's in my items or whatever on Peacock. It can't figure out that, hey, Zach wants to watch the damn IndyCar thing that we just finished or is on right now. And it's like, I know you have the technology, but that seems like that's a disrespect to IndyCar. Like IndyCar, it's never worth putting on unless it's 500 related. It's never worth being on the home screen.
If they had signed this contract with the CW, I would have thought this is a bad deal, right? If they said, hey, we're going to do 6 years on the CW, which isn't on YouTube TV in Indianapolis, by the way.
Hey, the CW has some bangers, sure.
They got our boy Ben Polizzi, Boss Hog alum. He's like, shirtless and doing his thing.
Get on Instagram
there,
and
on
look up
F-Boy
his-
and F-Girl Island.
Look up his nice heckling videos. They are the funniest thing.
Ben
Great.
is spectacular, but
Yeah.
he is the star of the CW and 100 Days to Indy, which is coming to Netflix this weekend. But if they had signed with them, I'd be like, oh, this kind of sucks. Being on Fox, I'd 98% good
It
news.
sounds like a great deal.
My question is, and I mentioned this, like they need to pull ratings now. Like they need to Penske needs to be prepared to be, and then Fox needs to as well. Spend some money on promotion to get people to watch the races. And I do wonder, because what we've always been kind of told is that okay, they might push you to like cable for some stuff, but for every race they push you to cable, you should be getting a check. Because basically what happens is like we can put you on free or we'll pay you to help promote this other thing. So I'm assuming that they might have taken, now there was a bit of competition for the contract. So maybe there was a decent check to the series for the rights, but I do hope that they didn't trade too much financial stability for the exposure. So we'll see.
So the other thing they got is that they got their equivalent of AAA baseball or their D League or in the NASCAR World, the Xfinity Series. They got all those races on cable too, which had been on Peacock
fantastic
forever.
they haven't been,
because they've not been on television. So they got that entire support series. So as next year's talent is coming along, those guys actually have something where they can work and get a real damn sponsor on a car, and it's not Dad's Hedge Fund on the side of the race car or the dental firm,
the
or
local
whatever.
subway.
Right. Like it's you have an opportunity to say, hey, 1 million people are going to watch this over the course of the year. Can you give me $200,000 and have a development deal with McDonald's or somebody? So that's legit too. That's another nice takeaway from it. I'm excited to see what happens. It is change. Everybody's going to cry and complain.
It is the complaining on Facebook, and one guy's like, "Well, they're all going to be on Fox Sports 1." I'm like, "No, it literally is." He's like, "No, it's the Fox family." No, I'm like, "Look at here's the picture. Just the picture. Spell it out.
Do you know
for
how
you.
to read?
Yeah, Fox. It's everything's on. Like you can read in the articles. It says on Fox, not on Fox networks, not within the Fox whatever. On Fox.
Joey Molinaro and I were texting today, going Gus Johnson. You know Gus Johnson.
I
of
recognize
Fox. Yeah,
recognize
he's
the name.
He's now the voice of the NCAA Final Four.
Okay.
He's the big guy. He's the big college football
yeah,
guy.
never mind. I know who you're talking
Gus
about.
Johnson. He was on CBS for a long time. He was like a third guy on the NFL side. This means he's their new Mike Tirico. Like he's
I'm kind of curious to see
him doing qualifying coverage of Indy.
who they pull for the 500.
Be fun.
For all the Danica haters, she's probably not coming back. She'll probably be a casualty of that one. I didn't mind Mike Tirico, but I'll be honest, I haven't watched. I kind of skimmed the 500. I did watch it this year, but like I kind of watched it passively because I was there. So I just kind of watched it to catch up on stuff that sometimes you'll find out the stuff that happened. You're like, I didn't know this happened or why something happened. So,
Final thoughts, Zach Burcham.
I'm supposed to bring up the fact that there's a strip club that's now a wedding venue.
Yes, there is, and I sent this.
The circle. What I want to hear about though, I want to hear a follow up story in a couple weeks where a couple that got together, at the strip club, preferably she working, he patronizing, and now they're getting married and they're going to have their reception at the place that they met.
So
and they're gonna
because this
where
story,
is this place at?
Because this story got bumped out of the news, we're gonna have to read it cold here. This story is from Fort Wayne, Indiana. A place that we all know and love. Channel 21 Alive on the story. A place once known well as a strip club in Fort Wayne is stripping down the old ways to make way for a new kind of dance. Dakota Bailey of LTD Property Group says he recently purchased a building located off Coliseum Boulevard in Fort Wayne. They're going to make it a wedding venue and anything else anybody wants to use it for. It was once known as Shangri-La East, a local strip club in Fort Wayne. I guess we need to check and see if there's any ratings and reviews. I'm going to find some reviews for Shangri-La East and see if there's any stories here. It was a music center for a little while, and then it became a strip club again. So it had 2 lives as a strip club. So you could have met your wife there 2 or 3 times.
I feel like they're missing an opportunity, though. I feel like they should just make the strip club part smaller. That way you can do like a 2-for-1, bachelor party and wedding, all included.
Apparently,
it's like Las Vegas, but in Fort Wayne.
Apparently, in the deed, they good. So I can't find anything for Shangri-La East because it's gone forever. But Shangri-La West still exists in Fort Wayne.
It looks like a classy place.
It has 3.5 stars on Google.
That seemed kind of high for a strip club.
I mean, the ones that you and I have been to, Chase.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jer.
I couldn't give them any more than 2 stars. Number 1 review for Shangri-La West says 25 years this club continues to be an innovative and vibrant part of Fort Wayne's entertainment industry, making Fort Wayne a destination place for adult entertainment.
And that review is from Gypsy 1.
Gypsy DNA.
Words I never thought I would hear regarding a strip club is innovative. Like, what are they? I don't even want to know what that means. Like, how are you innovative?
These people sign their names to these reviews. Justin Collins. $3 steaks are the bomb. Staff always great and treats our group really well.
Well, you can't beat that.
Michael Davis. We got to go for steak night. Great spot, especially Wednesdays with the $3 steak and fries. Bobby is fantastic and the DJ is great.
I think it should have got 4 stars. $3 steaks.
I mean, what kind of meat do you think a $3 steak?
How many $3 steaks do you think you could eat in one sitting, Jer?
I wonder how they're prepared.
I wonder if it's got glitter on it.
I wonder how much the steaks were at Shangri-La East. Man, there's a YouTube video. They were a multi-level facility they had pool tables. They had pool tables before.
I'm telling you, it's Las Vegas, but in Indiana. It's the cheaper way to go.
Do you wash your hands after you touch a pool ball at a strip club? Or the queue?
Who the hell brings quarters to a strip club?
Isn't this
for the pool table?
Isn't this out by where Christy Avery lives?
I think this has got to be right next to Christy's house. Honestly,
you know what's super fun is that cross country season started, and they found out that I help with the show. And they're all trying to find out where the podcast, like, how do we listen to the podcast? Like, you guys don't need to listen to the podcast. I'm like, why? I'm like, because
you never know.
I'm an adult on there.
Because you never know.
And then the first episode after they keep asking, and we're talking about a strip club.
Christy, do you think you could,
what's at the end?
You think you could go and walk your dog and get a $3 steak?
Christy doesn't think.
Tell us how it is.
Christy says she can't find, she doesn't know where these are. That's because Christy's a girl and she has no idea. She has no idea where these are. All right.
I didn't realize Fort Wayne had realized because she's mentioned like there's Showgirl 1 and 3.
Fort Wayne is a large city.
So
there's like 250,000 people.
I guess I didn't realize they had such a vibrant adult dance community.
Back in the day, Newcastle had one.
Yeah, I run by. I don't walk by that one. I run by it every once in a while. Ran by it today. Never went inside
the Stardust.
I have a friend who has one of the greatest Stardust stories ever. And I look at the former print, like the footprint of the place is still there. They just leveled it, and there's even still like tile on like the concrete. And I'm like, that was really small. Like, how much awful could go on in there? Because it looks like smaller than a small not like the new fancy gas stations, but like
were they all private dances?
I don't know. I never went in.
No,
there.
I think they probably would have been in front of everybody.
I will not mention the friend who did this happened to, but I knew a guy who went there. And first of all, he had an extensive conversation trying to order a Labatt Blue, and they had no idea what was going on.
Labatt's?
Yeah,
Who-
Labatt's.
Who goes in and orders a pretentious Canadian beer in a strip club that you're lucky if they've got cold beer?
He did consume enough alcohol that he inadvertently tipped $100. And then
High roller. That'll get you a lot of attention.
got a lot of
Is the
attention.
bartender also one of the entertainers in there?
Yeah, well, he got a lot of attention. And then the next day was awoken by his grandparent to go to church. And so he was still somewhat inebriated and went out to breakfast with his grandmother and looked up, and his server was the stripper who he had tipped the night before. So he's sitting post-church breakfast drunk with the stripper who he tipped on accident as his server as he's eating with his grandparents.
Small town. Everybody's got two or three
yeah,
jobs.
that's another thing is like too small. Yeah.
What a 24 hours for that girl though. 2 tips and
And then he was like, that's why I just don't go to.
This place appears to have been very close to the Lakeside Cafe and the Coliseum Inn on Coliseum Boulevard. So, trying to see where it's the USAC started right there, in the Fort Wayne Coliseum. That was like one of the places they started.
Christy Avery said she had a community cat crisis. I know what that feels like, Christy. I still have a family living on my porch.
You've adopted those cats. It is walking distance from American Legion Post 47 if you cut through a neighborhood. So I can see how this place survived for a while with those heroes. Chase, you got any final thoughts for Zach? Was there anything else on your final thoughts list?
I think so. No, it's been a week, so I'm a little foggy.
I feel you. Chase?
I've got 2 questions.
Okay.
That's for both of you, sort of. First question, Jared, how do you feel about Caitlyn Clark? You a big Caitlyn Clark fan, WNBA fan?
I have not seen Caitlyn Clark play a single game in the WNBA. I'm very excited for the city of Indianapolis and for the WNBA that she's a big deal. I haven't spent a lot of time educating myself on all of the controversies that seem to happen around her. But from the people that I've read opinions from that I trust and believe in, Mark Patrick, the old Channel 8 news guy back in the day, he thinks she's being poorly coached and they're not using her appropriately. I think that she just got done with a NCAA season and immediately wound up in the WNBA. So cut her a damn break if she's not the best player in the league yet.
Well, she's still putting up great numbers.
She's still filling arenas.
She's still setting records.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for her, and I'm sure the rookie year in the WNBA is probably your most painful year to go through.
How do you feel about her getting left off the women's national team, Jerry?
They've the dumbest excuse for that ever.
I think they probably first of all, she needs a damn break. Let's sign her up for more basketball. But it's a promoter's dream to have that. It goes back to the first conversation we had, Chase. You know who Kobayashi is, you know who Joey Chestnut is, and then to name Jeff Espers or James Webb, nobody knows. Nobody knows them unless you have at least a clue.
To be honest, Cher, I don't know why I didn't realize this. I didn't even know the WNBA had a women's national team until Caitlyn Clark got left off.
Yeah, it's just the Olympic team.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she just got left off because these little Summer Olympics are this summer. So there's just so much I'm still with Jeremiah. If you college basketball, you finish out for men's, you finish out in March, early April, wherever it finishes up.
And you don't play again until October.
And you get off. You get, and then no, she finishes up at the same time, whatever the night before. And she gets drafted. It seems like
weeks later.
Yeah, 2 weeks later.
No training camp, and it's immediately. Yep, I'm in Indiana now.
And she finishes April, and she's playing professional basketball in late May. It was less than it was a month. And then the one thing it does appear is that she's being. I don't know if haze is the right term because I don't think they really want to quit. But I think
they just hate her.
I think that they're not very happy about the amount of attention that she brings.
To be honest, that's just kind of how women are with each other.
When
when 3
or more are gathered,
there's always issues. And when you have one that's more popular than the other girls, it's just.
Christy Avery did bring up a point, and I did listen to a podcast where they did talk about the fact that when you build the Olympic team, you should be building a team that can win, not the team of the best players. Because if you just pick a bunch of individual players, that not necessarily is going to be your best team.
Well, the only thing I have to say about that.
I want a medal, Christy, and I don't care what we have to do to get it.
She has been offered a spot on an Olympic roster. She has got dual citizenship with Canada.
That'd be so funny.
And it'd be real funny if she dropped a 3 and knocked America out.
And as a rookie, like her stats, there are a couple players on that team that have the same stats she does.
Yeah, I know that they've got like kind of one. Diana Taurasi's on like her 5th Olympic team or something.
She's like 40 years old.
But there are some situations where like she's just been like brutalized physically, and you're like, come on. It's like ultimately you guys are all going to end up better off because she's here.
Yeah.
So just get over it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't care about the WNBA at all until Caitlyn Clark.
And they're moving venues they're moving a bunch of games to bigger venues.
They should all be so thankful. She's the reason they get to fly private now.
Charter flights, yeah.
They're not on Delta. They're on private planes. So no more bitching.
I like Angel Reese too. I mean,
she's
Tamika Catchings, Rebecca Lobo. I mean,
I didn't even. I don't. Angel Reese and Caitlyn Clark. Those are the only two I know. I like both of them.
Anything else for me, Chase?
Oh yes, Jared. Both of you. I have one more question. For the D-Day ceremony, do you guys think Joe Biden really shit himself?
Oh, did that supposedly happen?
Yeah. Have you seen the video?
I did hear that he something happened and he had to leave very quickly.
Yeah. So if you watch the video, it's just him standing there, and then he gets this look on his face, and then he kind of I'll kind of do it on video. So he's standing there in front of everybody, and then he just kind of gets this look on his face, and then he goes like this. But
just crouches down.
There's no chair, and then he gets up, and then like later on, like they show him like his wife escorting him out before they even like shake hands with the veterans and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, listen, the veterans are older than he is. They understand what he's going through.
I don't know what we're doing in this country. I mean, I haven't had the best people to vote for since I've been able to vote. Last time around, I wrote in Tulsi Gabbard's name just because she's hot. But
these are the very best we have to choose from.
You're not giving me very good options here.
This is the very best we have to choose from. I've never had a co-host whose knees touch mine more than Chase Peyton's do over the course of a show. I've been in physical contact with Chase the entire program, and he has very hairy legs. Very hairy. Zach's still working over there.
I was trying to look up the Joe Biden, and I saw a video of like him. He stands very awkwardly.
Yeah.
It doesn't show how quickly he departed.
I mean, at his age, nobody's departing that quickly.
The video of him departing was a different video.
This says he just wasn't sure if he should be standing or sitting, so he just kind of sits in the middle.
Yeah, it could be either one, but there's no chair behind him. I don't know.
Sometimes you forget.
I don't know what we're doing here, folks.
I was in a waiting room yesterday, and there was a woman who was so. She turned to the man next to her, and she's like, "Do you vote?" And I'm like, "Who the hell starts a conversation with this?" And then she was laying in about how this guy had to vote for Donald Trump, and how I just got to be the fly on the wall for this conversation. And the man's like, "Yeah, this guy, he really knew how to run a country." And she's like, "He did all the same stuff everybody else did. I'm just, it's just, he did it before he got elected. Once he was in office, he was totally clean." And I'm like, what the hell does this guy have to do what would this man have to do for you to be like, no, he's not my choice? The insurrection, even if you were cool until January 6th, when that happened, how are you okay? My brain does not comprehend.
I can't if there's anything. And now we're to the point.
You just point at the other guy and say, that guy's old and he sucks. Well, that guy's a criminal. Well, his son's a criminal. These are the very two best choices we have.
Yeah. Apparently, they charged some Hunter with stuff that, like they said, nobody has ever been like actually charged and tried and convicted for checking the wrong boxes and lying on an application.
Yeah.
It can be, yeah. It's a circus, man.
They're all terrible. And you have more than 2 names on the ballot. But you're going to get one of those two as your president again, unless by some miracle one of these conventions is really interesting and somebody makes a change. Because, the Democrats are talking about having to make a change because Joe Biden doesn't know that today's Thursday. And Donald Trump may be behind prison. He's getting sentenced 4 days before the convention.
3 days before the... Like, I want people to stop and look at their current situation in politics and be like,
this is the best we have to choose
something
as a world
to do with this.
Yeah.
Like, because if you voted or didn't vote, you had some part in this, like, dumpster fire of people that we just keep electing, and then just having a system, I guess, where good people who want to run get disenfranchised and chased away from wanting to ruin their lives in politics. So we only get the worst people.
You don't get the Mitch Daniels because he doesn't want to put his family through it. George H.W. Bush, 100 years old this week. He's been dead for a year or so, but if he would have been 100 this week.
Imagine dying, and it seems like this happens to all the big names. Like, imagine living 99 years and not making it one more year to hit 100.
Betty White.
Happened with
Betty White.
Queen got close. Like,
Betty White did a magazine interview. Like, they did.
Yeah,
Betty White turns 100.
They had the 100,
and she didn't get there.
So Jimmy Carter is 99,
and he's been on life support.
He's been
for
on
like,
hospice since February of last year.
Yeah,
and his grandson just did an interview. Like, the people that interview the Carters are like Southern Weekly. Like, that's the people that release all the information. And they said he sleeps for days at a time now and doesn't really know. But if he makes it to October, he'll be 100. Final thought from me real quick. Lucas Oil Stadium is a swimming pool right now for the French Olympics. Stephen Vitito, friend of the show. I think he's been a guest a number of times. His daughter, Chloe, got to swim in it. She was one of the first swimmers, former Newcastle alum, and I think now Southsider.
Yeah.
She got to do some competitions out there this week.
some local, like 3 Henry County kids got to swim in the pool. I know Olivia, oh man, how I forget her last name. Mallory Owens, who's a Newcastle swimmer. I think a Hagerstown swimmer, and somebody else got to. But yeah, that looked I mean, like, I know it's whatever. It was like 2 million gallons of water they trucked in.
That's crazy.
Which is the hard part for me to believe. Anytime they do that or they put dirt in there.
I heard they opened a fire hydrant up and filled it from a hydrant. They brought fire hoses in down the staircase.
But then they have to get rid of it. I'm just always amazed that, like, between phases, there's like they get the floor clean. Like when they do Monster Jam, then like 2 days later they'll have the floor not only no dirt, but it's clean.
Yeah. It's ready for whatever.
Clean, like it's clean concrete, and that's the part that just, that's the kind of stuff where I want to see. I know they're probably easy. You can probably look it up. Time lapse. I think there is a time lapse of the pool being built, but a time lapse of that stuff getting set up and torn down.
Yeah. Last thing for me, real quick. Much love to the Grubbs family. Jackson Grubbs, an athlete from here in town that the town lost this week in a tragic diving accident, and the funeral services were today. So send that family some love. And I know the youth baseball and youth sports communities have all been hurting this week. So not a fun time. Don't want to forget that before we sign off the air here. So with that, we say thank you guys so very much for being a part of the show. Next week, we are scheduled to have Jeff Woo Watterson, who is a Peacock superstar, right?
Yeah.
From the Survive New Zealand series.
Yep. I'm still working my way through PR to make all the arrangements.
Zach's been doing twice the work he's paid for.
Well, it sounds like he won
with NBC Universal, and we don't know. For now, he may have won. He may not have. We don't know. But your homework, Chase, is to watch all 4 episodes and come back next week and find out.
If you have YouTube TV and you add it onto your recordings, all the past episodes show up as on demand.
They're there. There you go. All right. Thank you guys so very much. We will see you next week.